It's funny in the spirit of supply chain, right, which seems to be a trend here. The company did also have supply chains, but here's the good news: HP beat on the top and they beat on the bottom. Even though revenue was only up around 4%, EPS was up 16%. PC had a good showing too, particularly commercial, very similar to Dell. Commercial was up 18%, but what dragged down the PC group was consumer lost 6 points. Okay, and that was a very different story with Dell, who actually grew in consumer. Notebook units were down 23%. Now, what is that really? Are those notebooks? Well, it's Chromebooks. That's what was down big time, and that's why that number was so crazy. Desktops were up 28%. What? Well, that's about commercial folks, because a lot of folks in commercial buy desktops, and either desktops for their information workers or desktops for the frontline workers at restaurants, at hospitals, right? Just to get stuff done, because they don't want people walking out with them, and they're a heck of a lot more durable than a notebook. Printing was tough all over the place. Revenue was down 7%, hardware was down 23%, supplies down 6%. The positive news is almost $1 billion in operating profit for the quarter. One of the more interesting things, and just to put a positive note here, I really appreciated the company going into growth areas, right? It's the double click. And I think what this is hey, when there might be some deceleration, let's show some areas that are accelerating, right? So on the peripheral side, 40% revenue growth across HyperX and the HP peripherals. Gaming, double-digit revenue growth, right? Workforce solution, another double-digit. Consumer services like Instant Ink, also double-digit growth. Industrial graphics, another double-digit growth. Come on, just give me the number, HP. 3D up over 50% year on year, and cumulative annual parts 130 million. Okay, of 3D parts, plastic, metal, probably about 40 different substrates that you can use to do that. Personally, for the future, I'm most excited about the company's acquisition of Poly. I talked to 4 companies about acquiring Poly. I just thought the writing was on the wall, and imagine that the valuation got to a certain point, and boom, HP snagged the company. So there we go.
Yeah, I think you hit a lot of it on the head. Had the chance to do a little Q&A with CEO Enrique Lores. He generally does come out at the end of each quarter and give the breakdown to a group of us, you and I included, and it was mostly positive. And by the way, this is another one where the street was very positive. I think I think you can find some challenging spots in this, more so. There's more than like the Marvell report last week, where you're like, I can't find anything wrong with this. But at the same time, I think the market's kind of embracing itself for this particular, for PCs to slow. Seeing the strong commercial numbers, though, indicates that there's still some tailwind in that particular space. Consumer is going to slow down. I am almost so confident that I'm going to say it emphatically that it will slow down. Commercial is going to be more, I think it's going to be more fragmented. I think parts of commercial will continue to be very important. I also think, probably one of the most important things, and you pointed this out earlier, Pat, but one of the most important things to watch right now is everybody's backlogs. Like, what made Dell's quarter so good was that not only did they hit these great numbers, but the backlog didn't get taken down. And some of these companies, the backlogs are starting to get drained a little bit. And when that happens, you're saying, well, yeah, we're getting good earnings still, but is it a combination? Is it actually because sales are strong now, or is it because they're able to fulfill orders? And then, of course, you get the combination of both, where the backlog's staying high and the numbers aren't great. And that means that, they're having supply chain problems and sales problems, which that's where you start to get really nervous. HP had a lot of good stuff in it.
They did.
Big bets looked good. Some of the new spaces it's going into, things like Instant Ink, device as a service. I like that stuff. The peripheral gaming business. Poly's going to be a bit of an interesting, interesting integration play. You know, this remote work, hybrid work thing. I mean, HP is great with peripherals, so we'll see how they build that out. I mean, the future of video collaboration, remote work. I mean, I think Enrique literally said this quarter was fueled by hybrid and remote work. So, I mean, that's his words. So I think the continued belief that that trend is going to sustain is there. I think it's in the numbers. I would like to see, you know, the company's got to do something about getting that print business back to growth. The last few quarters have been a little, you know, harder to digest there. Thank goodness for the good numbers in PC, because otherwise that would be even more exposed. And as we all know, you know, like NVIDIA slowing growth in automotive, when you have data center and gaming exploding every quarter, you just kind of look at it, So, you know, you kind of, because in the end, a company's performance is kind of the sum of all of its parts. But of course, if you're operating on, you know, if you're operating at full momentum in all segments, your business tends to perform very well. So largely a good quarter here. And I said, you know, the street, like I said earlier, validated that because the market was favorable. And right now the market's not, it likes to take things down, not run them up right now.
Yeah. Hey, I want to do a rare correction in terms of what I said.
Go for it.
There was not a focus on supply chain issues in HP. I guess I got so used to supply chain being a challenge at HP, but that really was not part of the big conversation. And by the way, with Poly, I mean, they've had supply chain issues for 6 quarters.
Yeah.
And in fact, it hit their gross margins because they had to do spot buys of this. And I do think the combination of these companies, I think you will see a distinct change in the supply chain for Poly when the acquisition comes through. One of the biggest semiconductor suppliers to Poly is Qualcomm. Qualcomm is at the heart of almost every one of their new intelligent camera solutions. And you can imagine the relationship between HP and Qualcomm, and let's say Qualcomm and Poly, and for that matter, even companies like TI. They're supplying a lot of this analog stuff. I think you're going to see a ton of benefit to. I'd love to see Poly not supply constrained to see what they could actually do, because you know people are coming into the office, Daniel, and the equipment sucks. I mean, the experience is horrible. We talk about equity in collaboration, and unless you have the latest and greatest equipment, you know, it's not going to be one block, one person. It's going to be one block, 17 people in a conference room. You can't see them. You can't see their face. You can't see their articulations. You can't see everything.
Can't see that great smile of yours, buddy.
Exactly. I need to smile more.